Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Gold Rush Tommy Beets finds tusks while drilling for oil. Gold Rush Tommy Beets made a huge discovery while working his new site at Paradise Hill. However, this wasn't gold that Tony found. Instead, he discovered a tusk, and it was something that was very unique to this part of Alaska. Here is a look at Tony's discovery and what it means for the site. Tony Beets finds a tusk on Gold Rush. Tony was out looking around his site, and that is when he found a tusk sticking out of the ground. He had his son Mike come over and use their equipment to dig it out. Mike mentioned that it was a jawbone and Tony agreed that it might be right. Tony decided to call in the paleontologists to look at the find. This means that Tony had to stop his work because of the find. Because it is such an important find, the paleontologists had to come in and dig out the rest of whatever might be there for this, and he can't get moving again until they decide there is nothing else to find when it comes to the archaeological finds. This is also something that is not unusual but is unique to this part of Alaska. This find was just 40 miles away from one of the most significant finds in recent years in Alaska. As Gold Rush showed, a news broadcast from 2 months before this showed a baby woolly mammoth found and uncovered at a gold mining site. The baby woolly mammoth find, in June 2022, a nearly complete, mummified baby woolly mammoth was found at the Treadstone mine in the Klondike gold fields. The Trondequichin elders named the mammoth calf Nunchoka, meaning big baby animal. The Yukon area is known for its record of Ice Age animals found. While Tony Beets said on Gold Rush that he has found horses and zebras before, this husk brought back memories of the woolly mammoth find. According to the news broadcast shown on Gold Rush, the baby woolly mammoth was at least 30,000 years old. Thanks to the ice and ground in the Yukon, prehistoric animals like this are preserved well. The baby was so well preserved that paleontologists determined it was a 1-month-old female. In 1948, a partial woolly mammoth was found, also near a gold mine in Alaska. When it comes to the tusk Tony found on Gold Rush, experts believe that the woolly mammoth skeletons found were likely all part of the same family. And gold miners have been uncovering these sorts of bones since the Klondike Gold Rush over a century ago. Tommy Beets, the legendary gold miner of Gold Rush, had seen plenty in his years scouring the earth for treasure, but this day promised something different. Tommy had always prided himself on knowing the land better than most. Having made his fortune on the Klondike's gold-rich grounds, he figured nothing could surprise him. Yet as he and his crew set up their drilling rig, miles away from their usual haunts, a strange feeling clung to the air. Tony had been approached by a small oil exploration company looking for his expertise. They wanted to tap into the underground reserves in one of the more remote parts of Alaska, a land that had seen few people but held many secrets. For Tony, it was a chance to step out of his comfort zone and try something new. Drilling for oil might not be as glamorous as finding a gold vein, but it could be just as lucrative. The morning started like any other. Tony, ever the hard-working machine, shouted his orders over the rumble of machinery. The towering drilling rig was in place, ready to dig deep into the permafrost. His team, a mix of seasoned gold miners and oil specialists, worked like clockwork. They knew this wouldn't be an ordinary job. There was something mystical about this untouched wilderness, as if the land held stories older than they could imagine. The drill churned through the ground, spinning deeper and deeper into the frozen earth. Hours passed, the rig doing its job, but Tony noticed the change first. A slight resistance in the machinery, a slowing, a subtle vibration that didn't feel quite right. The drilling had stopped progressing. "Shut it down!" Tony's gravelly voice echoed across the site. His team responded instantly, pulling the massive drill from the ground, revealing its grimy surface coated in a mix of dirt and something else, something ancient. The crew gathered around the drill as it surfaced, all eyes wide with curiosity. Tony, ever the pragmatist, wiped his hands on his oil-stained jeans and approached the drill, bending down to inspect it closer. He saw something he never expected. Embedded in the mix of mud and rock was something pale, smooth, and curiously curved. Tony squinted, his weathered face forming a frown of confusion. What the hell is that? With care, the team began removing layers of soil from the strange object. As they cleared more of it, a collective gasp escaped the group. Before them, protruding from the ground like the finger of a forgotten giant, was the unmistakable tip of a tusk. A massive ancient tusk. Tony straightened up, hands on his hips, eyes scanning the land around them. "We've hit more than oil here, boys," he muttered, his voice low and filled with wonder. His mind raced. How old was this thing, and just how big could it be? The crew worked tirelessly over the next few hours, slowly uncovering the tusk. It became clear this wasn't just a singular find. As they dug further, they unearthed another tusk, then parts of what looked like massive bones, long buried beneath the permafrost. They had stumbled upon the remains of a mammoth, perfectly preserved by the cold Alaskan ground. Tony's heart pounded in his chest. The gold miner in him felt the thrill of discovery all over again. But this wasn't just about fortune anymore. This was something far more significant. The remains they were uncovering belonged to a creature that had roamed the earth thousands of years ago, long before any human had ever set foot in Alaska. The bones told a story of a time when the land was wild and untamed, ruled by beasts of unimaginable size. As the team worked, they began to realize the magnitude of their find. It wasn't just one mammoth, it was an entire graveyard. Tusk after tusk, bone after bone, all laid to rest in what had once been a fertile valley. Tony stood back, watching as his crew carefully extracted the fossils. The weight of history hung heavy in the air. News of the discovery spread quickly. Scientists and archaeologists arrived at the site within days, their excitement palpable. Tony, who had spent his life digging for gold, now found himself standing at the center of a paleontological treasure trove. He watched as experts marveled at the find, explaining how these mammoths had likely died together in some catastrophic event, their bodies preserved by the ice for millennia. But even as the scientists took over the site, Tony couldn't help but keep one eye on the drilling rig. The promise of oil still lingered beneath the surface, and Tony was nothing if not a businessman. The mammoth bones were incredible, yes, but the job wasn't done. There was black gold down there too, and Tony Beets never walked away from a payday. As the weeks passed, the site became a flurry of activity. On one side, paleontologists carefully cataloged each fossil, piecing together the lives of the long-extinct creatures. On the other, Tony's team resumed drilling, their sights set on tapping the oil reserves that lay even deeper. For Tony, it was a strange intersection of past and future. On one hand, he had unearthed a window into the ancient world, a glimpse of life before humanity. On the other, he was helping to extract the oil that would fuel modern civilization. The contrast wasn't lost on him, and in his quiet moments, he found himself pondering the enormity of it all. As the mammoth bones were packed up and shipped off to museums and research centers, Tony stood at the edge of the site, staring at the drill as it continued its work. He had always been a man who lived for the thrill of the hunt, for the rush of striking gold or hitting oil. But this discovery had been something else entirely, something bigger than himself. It was a reminder that no matter how much they took from the earth, there would always be more buried beneath the surface. Some treasures were ancient and irreplaceable, telling stories of a world long forgotten. With a deep breath, Tony turned back to the rig. The future was still waiting, but for a moment, he let himself appreciate the past. He had come searching for oil, but had found something much more valuable. A connection to a time when giants roamed the earth, and the land held secrets that even he, Tommy Beets could never have imagined.